Okay, dear students, welcome back to the last video of multi-threading chapter. In this video, we will learn about how to suspend, resume, and stop running threads. Remember, before Java 2, in Java 1, we had suspend, resume, and stop methods, but now they have been depreciated. A method which is depreciated is a kind of method in Java that they do not encouraged to use because they might have some side effects. So after Java 1, the suspend, resume, and stop method has been depreciated. Though these methods have been depreciated, but we still can achieve all the tasks that these methods were supposed to do. Let us first understand what was the use of this method. Suspend method, if a thread is running, if you want to momentarily suspend a thread, then you can call suspend method on that thread, and that thread will not resume its execution unless another thread has called resume method on that thread, right? So suspend will actually suspend execution of the thread, and if you want to resume execution of the thread, you will call resume method. Remember, sleep is also kind of suspending execution of a thread momentarily, but the difference between sleep and suspend is when you sleep, you will sleep for some stipulated time and you do not need to be resumed. No other thread need to call any other explicit method in order to resume your execution. But if you are suspending, then you need to explicitly call resume method so that execution can be resumed. Similarly, if a thread is running, you can stop it forcefully by calling the stop method. Right. Now, although Java gave suspend, resume, and stop method with Java 1, but then they encouraged not to use these methods because Java said if you are going to suspend a method, and if that method has obtained a lock on a resource, that lock will not be released. It means that for the amount of time for which the thread has been suspended, the lock will be continuously applied on that, which cannot be resumed. So that is the reason why Java said it may not be a very wise idea to suspend a thread and then obviously running into the risk of wasting a lot of resources because when you suspend a thread, it won't be releasing the lock it might have obtained on any resource. So that is the reason why Java started to encourage user not to use suspend and resume method. Kind of they were depreciated. Similarly, Java also said stop method was a very good method to forcefully stop a thread. But how about if a thread is in the middle of its job and you by mistake call stop method on that? In that case, the thread might be stopped. So Java says you should not use these three methods. They have been depreciated. But then Java says, well, you can achieve all the advantages that you had for using suspend, resume, and stop methods by just using couple of Boolean expression. You can see here in this example, although we are not calling suspend method, but we are using wait method to achieve the same job that suspend method would have done. We can call wait method, or we can also call the sleep method. So in this case, I will be using sleep method to do the job of suspending a thread. So here I have got a new thread that implements runnable. We have got a thread name, then here we have got a boolean which is suspend flag. When this is turned true, automatically thread will suspend itself, right? And when it is false, the thread will resume itself. So see here, we have got this constructor. We are passing name of the thread and then creating a new thread, just displaying this message. Now suspend flag, initially it is false, right? When it is false, it means this thread can execute. We start the thread.
Now inside run method, let's get an interesting fact. Inside run method, we run from 15 up to 0, and every time we sleep for 200 millisecond. Right. Now this is the synchronized statement. We say if the flag is true, then wait. So we are kind of achieving the same task that suspend could have done, that is to stop the thread. Right, but here we do not call suspend method, but we just check to the suspend flag, which is actually a boolean variable. If the boolean variable is true, then this method will call wait on itself, which means that execution of this thread will stop. Right, and obviously this is doing it continuously and indefinitely, which means that as soon as the suspend flag is turned false, this wait will not be called. Right. Then you can see here I say synchronize my suspend. If someone is calling my suspend method, I mean how this wait method will be called if someone is turning suspend flag to true, because initially it is false. So when this method is called, it is going to turn the suspend flag to true, which means that thread will go into the wait state. Right, and then we have got this resume method. It is doing nothing. It just says suspend flag is equal to false and calling the notify method. You know that if a thread is in the wait state, then in order to bring it into runnable state, we need to call the notify method. Right, so here inside main, I am creating two threads with the name 1 and 2. My current thread sleeps for 1 second. I call ob1 dot suspend. You know, I'm suspending a kind of my suspend. I'm calling this my suspend method, which will actually turn the flag true, which means that my thread 1 will go into the waiting state. Right, so I bring this thread into the waiting state right here, suspending thread 1, and then I sleep for another 1 second. Again I resume thread 1, right, resuming thread 1, and then I suspend thread 2, writing this message, then current thread sleep for 1 second. So you can see in this case we are using wait method, but by using this flag of suspend flag, we can conditionally call wait method so that current thread should be suspended, and after some time we just turn this flag to false and then call the notify on that, so that the suspended thread can be notified. Right, so when you run this example, you will see that we have 1 with value 15, 2 with 15, 2 with 14, 1 with 14, 1 with 13. After some time we suspend thread 1, so only 2 is executing, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and then we resume thread 1 and then suspend 2, so you can see only 1 is executing. Right, so this actually shows that by using this boolean value and wait method, we can achieve the same thing that suspend method was doing. And because suspend method has been because the suspend method has been depreciated in the new API, that is the reason why we are achieving same essence of suspend method by using wait and notify method. Right, okay, then after this we also have got a special method get state, which actually returns you thread.state, and these are the values for thread.state. Values can be blocked, can be new, can be runnable, can be terminated, can be timed waiting, can be waiting. Right, so if you want to get a state on a thread, you just call get state. It will return you current state of the thread, which can be blocked, new, runnable, terminated, timed waiting and waiting. Right, remember when you create a new thread, it will be in the runnable state, or we can say the start state. When you call a waiting method, when you call wait method, it will go into the waiting or maybe timed wait, and with that time ends, or maybe you call notify, it will come back to the runnable state.
Inside runnable state, if you it's waiting for a lock, I mean a kind of deadlock, and then it will go into the lock state, and when lock is acquired, it will come back to the runnable state. And obviously if your thread completes its execution, it will go to the terminated state, right? When it is a new, and when your thread start, it's go to the run state or runnable state. You can use these two methods, and you can obtain all these states by calling get state method, which actually returns thread.state, which has all these possible values, right? Just one final word about multi-threading. Remember, when you have got your projects, you might be needing to use multi-threading, because using multiple threads which run concurrently, it actually increases performance of your system. I gave you one example in the very start. If you are downloading a 5 GB file and you are expecting that 5 GB should be completely downloaded, and then you will start processing, this might not be a very good idea. You can download maybe 1 GB out of 50 GB and start another thread which is actually processing on your data. So this processing on the data and downloading on the data can occur concurrently. If you do serially, it will take ages, but if you do concurrently, there is a very good chance that both download and processing might end at the same time. So when you have got a bigger application in Java, you will see that you need concurrency, and concurrency can be achieved only by multi-threading. But remember one thing, you should not unnecessarily use multi-threading, because creating a new thread has its own overhead. When I say overhead, I mean when you create a new thread, you are already introducing some delay in your program. So advantage of multi-threading is only in the application which require multi-threading. But if you forcefully, just for the purpose of making it beautiful, if you are making your application multi-threaded, that won't be a good idea. Okay, so I stop this lecture here. I hope that you will complete all these videos related to multi-threading. Keep posting your questions on the forum. We will have Zoom today at 5 p.m. But if you are unable to complete your multi-threading chapter by 5 p.m. today, don't worry. You can complete it in next 2 to 3 days, and then keep posting your questions on forum. I will answer there. Thank you very much.